Welcome to Winning with Annalee and Mainstay Financial Group. I'm your host, Annalee Leonard, president and founder of Mainstay, right on the corners of Antes and Perry. As you all know, I'm always trying to find things that make all of our lives better and always trying to educate you. And that's why a couple of years ago, as most of you know, I partnered with Alphastar Financial Group to help me learn more about all of the different things that are out there that I can offer to you to help your portfolio be more diversified, more sound, and have things to offer to people I've never had before. So I've got a couple of guests with me today, and one of them is Kevin Burton from Alphastar. And Kevin and I, besides being business associates, we've become good friends along the way. And you brought someone very special into my life, and I want you to introduce him, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and just to partner with you every little bit with your business in the community, and just you're doing such amazing things for your clients and in and around all the community. So thank you for letting us be a small part of that.
Thank you.
And with that, I want to introduce Brian Evans. He's the president of Madrona Financial, and we're here to talk about a concept called the Delaware Statutory Trust, DSTs, and he is the master at that. And we've formed a great partnership with that and wanted to bring it to you.
Yeah, and I thank you so much for that, Kevin, because what we have in this area, and Brian, you and I have talked about that, is, you know, we've got a lot of retired military here who have lived in various areas, bought rental properties. They're here now, they're ready for retirement, they don't want to be a landlord anymore. A lot of people own the condos, the beach rentals, and although it's sometimes a good source of revenue, people get tired of that. So would you tell us a little bit about the Delaware Statutory Trust, what it is, and why people need to know about it?
Yeah, I can tell you about kind of how it came about. I own a pretty large certified public accounting firm, and a lot of my clients, frankly, are getting a little bit older. They want to retire, and they do, and they all retire, and they have these great retirement plans, except for my landlords. Landlords don't get to retire, and the biggest reason why they don't is because it's not that they don't want to, but they don't want to pay this huge tax. And so I was able to bring the concept of the Delaware Statutory Trust to them so that they would have an exit strategy so that they could stop being a landlord and still get all the benefits of owning real estate.
So wait, now you're saying to me, I can get all the benefits of owning real estate, but I don't have to be a landlord?
Yeah, exactly. So I have clients that they can own any kind of real estate. It can be rental houses, but it could be raw land, a farm, an office building, industrial park, any kind of investment real estate, meaning not your principal residence.
Not where you live.
Yeah. So investment real estate, and they can sell it and do what's called a Section 1031 exchange, and that's where you sell your property and you buy another property. Well, that doesn't solve anything for most of them because they're still going to be a landlord,
You're still the
right?
landlord, yeah.
Well, there's one way that you can do this 1031 exchange, and your new property is going to be different kinds of properties that you don't have to be the landlord of.
Okay, and I know that there are requirements around this, and we've got to cover those because, you know, we have Kevin with us, and Kevin's going to go back and report us to compliance. So what are the rules around being qualified to do a DST or a 1031?
Yeah, for a Delaware Statutory Trust, you have to be an accredited investor, and one of the basic ways to do that is your net worth, including your investment real estate, your net worth has to exceed $1 million outside of your principal residence.
Okay, or make a certain amount of income.
Or make a certain amount of income, so they can call your office to get the details
get
on
through that.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that everyone understands that million is reached by the property owned plus whatever you may have in a 401k, other investments. It's everything gets counted, but not the principal residence.
Right,
okay.
That's correct.
So, you know I own an office building, and one of these days I'm going to probably want to sell it. But one of the things I just dread is the fact that when I sell it, I got to pay that long-term capital gain tax, and then all that wonderful depreciation I've written off all these years that have helped me not to pay as much tax. I got to reclaim that, don't I?
Yeah, you would if you didn't do a 1031 exchange. And not only do you have to recapture that depreciation, but it's taxed at a higher rate than your capital gains are.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's at a higher rate, and so a lot of people like to do these 1031 exchanges, but the thing about the Delaware Statutory Trust is that all that tax that you're putting off to the future, you can actually put it off so long until, you know, we're mortal, we pass away someday, and you can get what's called a step up in basis and pay zero income tax on all of the gains you've ever had on all of your investment real estate and all the depreciation recapture. All of it will be taxed at zero someday
at
to your
zero.
heirs. Yeah.
You know, in taxes, and I remember when the tables changed recently, everybody was all on the tither, and I did a lot of research on it. It's amazing how many times the tax tables have been changed, and they will change again.
Yeah, I give seminars. I ask the room, in 10 years, who thinks tax rates will be lower than they are today? I mean, I get laughs and I get crickets. I mean, nobody does.
No.
The capital gains rates have been as high as 70% in this country, and the income tax rate has been 94.
94, and that was right after World War II,
Right.
when we had the tremendous debt.
Yeah.
And of course, we're seeing a tremendous debt now. So
Exactly.
where's it going to come from? And the people it's going to come from are those right in the middle.
Right.
Those are the people going to pay the taxes. So if there's a way we can legally, of course, not have to pay that, why not?
Exactly, and you know, the 1031 exchange is great, but again, as I mentioned, you sell your property and you buy another property, and well, that doesn't solve anything if you own investment property and you want to retire. And frankly, most investment property is owned by people that are frankly a little bit older. I mean, they bought it years ago, and you know, it's not 25-year-olds that own apartment buildings. It's 65, 75, 80-year-olds, and they want to retire. And this is the Delaware Statutory Trust is the only way they can do a 1031 exchange and buy into what's called passive real estate, meaning they are not the active landlord anymore. So that's the clear differentiation of a DST from a normal 1031 exchange, is that they don't have to be the landlord anymore.
Don't have to be the landlord. And from what you and I have talked about before, they're that wonderful thing that I work with on Alphastar with all the time. They're more diversified.
Absolutely. We love that word as financial planners.
Yes.
You know, a great example, I had this guy call me on my radio show, and he says, well, I own this big apartment complex. It's 40 years old. I got no cash flow because it's, you know, I got to repair it all the time. People move out. And I'm 80 and my wife's 80 and we're tired. And so we were able to take his almost no cash flow and make it over $200,000 a year in this case. He invested into 6 or 7 different Delaware Statutory Trust programs. He owned multifamily apartments in the Sunbelt states. He owned self-storage. He owned Walgreens and other kinds of leased properties like that. So he was diversified by state, by type of property. There were newer properties, and his cash flow went from not very much to over $200,000. He still participated in the appreciation of the real estate, paid no income tax, and someday his heirs will also pay zero income tax with a step up in basis.
What a wonderful idea. So, I mean, and I know Kevin's over there kind of nodding his head and wondering the same thing. Why doesn't everybody just do this?
Yeah, it's the education just isn't out there, and that's why I appreciate you bringing me on this show today, so that people can have this education. And frankly, you do have to be a financial advisor, licensed advisor, to even offer it. And even if you are, you have to understand income taxes. As I explained, I own a CPA firm, so we work together on that. And then you have to be a real estate expert on top of all of that. There just aren't a lot of people in the country that are, you know, investment advisors with real estate extensive experience and the tax background.
And the tax part.
And so I've taken the opportunity to write a book on it, multiple Kiplinger articles, a white paper, just all, you know, I speak on the topic. And that's, again, why I appreciate you bringing me on here, so we can work together to help people listening to this take advantage of this, because most people listening right now, I'd say 99.9% of them have never heard of a Delaware statutory trust, nor have their CPAs or their realtors or any financial advisors they're working with.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would challenge them to do, and just give you a call so they can find out more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you want to know more about this, call us at 437-3127, and I'll be glad to have the initial conversation with you. And as you know, one of the things I've always done is work in a team situation, because I'm not an attorney. I don't know all the laws. I'm not a CPA. I know you're shocked by that, but I'm not a CPA. And I know enough about real estate to be a little bit dangerous, but with the team to back up. So if you call us and we see that this is something that could be advantageous to you, we'll get Brian and some of the people in his team on the phone, and they'll delve more deeply into it. And, tell us the steps and what we do, because there are very definitive steps we have to take to make it illegal.
Yeah. After they meet with you, or then the next step is they're just going to list their property for sale, and it's going to be a normal sale. At closing, though, they will have to hire a qualified intermediary, because if the seller receives the check at closing, this deal's done for 1031. It's done. And so it just goes directly to the qualified intermediary. And in the meantime, you have met with them, and the DSTs have been selected and agreed upon as to what the reinvestment will be. And it's a pretty simple process, really. They just sell their property, hire the qualified intermediary, pick out the new properties, and about a week after the property closes, they're invested and they're getting their rent check that next month.
I love it. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back and talk more about the DST program. Thank you.
Retirement strategies come in all shapes and sizes. One strategy does not fit all when it comes to reaching your retirement goals, and considering all your options may be, well, more than you want to think about. So whether you're looking to retire or already living in retirement, you need a strategy tailor-made for you.
Hi, I'm Annalee Leonard with Mainstay Financial Group, and I'm here to design a financial plan for you and for those that you love.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just, please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Mainstay Financial Group offers advocacy and personal financial guidance in a caring environment. That's the heart of our practice. At Mainstay, we're dedicated to exemplary service and a caring relationship with our client, not with a number. Plan for the future now with Mainstay Financial Services.
Welcome back to Winning with Annalee and Mainstay Financial Group. I have with me today Mr. Kevin Burton and Brian Evans, and we're talking about the Delaware Statutory Trust 1031 exchanges, a way for people who have been landlords all of their lives, finally getting tired of it, don't want to have to pay the taxes, reclaim the depreciation, to have a smooth move over, still remain property owners, but without all of the headaches. And you talk about this very often in all of the things that you read, but it's, you don't have to deal with the air conditioner going out at 2 a.m. in the morning, or the kid dropping something into places where it shouldn't go, and but you're still getting all of the benefit. So it's almost too good to be true.
Yeah, that is one of the questions I get asked. Well, how could this be real? And I kind of like that. I mean, you're right. I mean, you get out of the tenants' trash and termites and and all the problems with real estate. And even when you like real estate, so I had a recent example. I was giving a seminar, and this fella in the audience was saying, well, why would I do a DST? I can make more money being a landlord. And I said, you're absolutely right. Maybe you shouldn't do one.
Yeah.
And he thought about it for a second, and then he fires back, yeah, but I'm 76 years old and I'm kind of not in very good shape, and I want to enjoy life. And my people that I know are all on trips. I can't go anywhere. I said, well, you know, let me point something out to you. When you retire from your job, and this is an exit strategy, you're retiring from your job as a landlord, you tend to take somewhat of a pay cut.
You make less money.
You can make more money if you continue to work. And he says, well, I don't want to work anymore. I said, well, okay, you'll maybe make a little bit less cash flow. It's still going to be very good, and you're still in real estate, but now you can go on that trip and actually spend some time.
Some
have some quality of life.
Enjoy some of what's there. And to me, that's what it's all about. What we're talking about then, if I'm hearing you correctly, would be someone who is a bit more mature, has been in real estate for several years, many years, wants an exit strategy, has been looking for one, but doesn't want to buy another piece of property and still be the landlord, or pay a management company to go in there, and that again is a cut in your money anyway.
Well, that's a good point. Even if you do hire a management company, that does not preclude that management company from calling you and say, hey, somebody did something wrong and you got to write a check for $30,000 to fix it. So that's what happens often with people that have owned real estate their whole life. Their real estate's a lot older now than it was when they purchased it, clearly. And there's something called deferred maintenance, and that's that really gets it. You know, my poor retired clients with real estate, often their cash flow is not very good. They get ahead and then they give it all back. They get ahead, give it back. Well, with the DST, that would never happen.
Yeah. Well, it's like I tell everybody in some of the classes I teach, it's if the microwave dies, you can pretty well bet on it the refrigerator's going to die, because they're going to say, I'm not going to work if you're not working, and then the dishwasher goes. And think about that if you're multiplying that 10 times, 15 times, and all these things are starting to break down and have to be replaced. That's a lot of money.
Well, there's also the fact that it's tenants very often, and changing rules. I mean, where I'm from, the Seattle area, the landlords, it's not very landlord friendly, and state of Oregon just passed statewide rent control, and you can get some bad tenants, and rules are maybe not in your favor, and you're responsible when they don't pay, they move out, they don't want to move, and they're not paying rent. There's a million things that can go wrong with real estate. With the DST, that really cleans it up. The properties are primarily newer, and you have professional management, and you're diversified amongst many properties, as I've mentioned, and so you can really resolve a lot of that.
So if something were to happen with a piece of property, and let's say that does happen, there's a lot of repairs that have to be done, can the managers of the DST call the owners and say, all right, you have to send us so much more money, like you see happening very often in condo situations?
Right. No, they cannot. That's one of the rules of a DST. So the sponsors that go out and buy the properties that make available for a DST, they might go out and buy, let's say, a 300-unit apartment complex that's 2 years old in Orlando. And they could put that into DST. And so if you invest some of your money in that, then you would invest with another couple hundred other investors probably. And so one of the rules is that they have to sell it within 10 years. So for liquidity, you will have some with between 5 and 10 years typically. But they also can never call you for a capital call. You're buying into a newer property. If there were repairs that needed to be made down the road, they already have reserves set aside for that.
To do that?
Yes.
So you don't get the phone call saying, you want to keep doing this, give us more money.
Nope.
So this is a situation, and you just mentioned a very important word, liquidity. You don't put your money in this if you want that money in the bank so that you can just immediately put it in your pocket. Kind of similar to the annuity situation. If you're going to do that for income, that is what it's for. It's for income. It's not the liquid pool. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's a couple reasons why you wouldn't do a DST. One is you're 30, 40 years old, and you're building your empire. Well, these aren't home runs. If you want to hit a home run, go do it on your own. And if you're young, just keep doing that.
Yeah.
This is an exit strategy. So that's one, a 40-year-old, I'm not telling to do these if they're in that game. The other reason is liquidity. If you need all this money in a couple years, well, they're not liquid.
They're not, yeah.
Yeah, it's real estate. Nor was the real estate you're selling, though. It was never liquid in the first place.
Right.
And you don't have to roll over 100% of the proceeds. You could sell something for $1 million, say, and keep 100 grand out, or whatever you want to keep, and you'll pay the tax on that 100 grand.
Yeah.
But maybe the cash flow will offset that enough to where you don't need to.
Tell our listeners that story that you told me about the guy that wanted the cash, but he didn't want to pay the tax. He wanted the cash. He didn't want to pay.
He was getting $4 million at closing from his apartment complex, and he said, "Well, I want some money." I said, "How much? 200?" And he said, "Yeah, 200,000." I said, "Great. Well, keep it out. You'll pay 50 grand in tax on that, and you'll have 150."
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I don't want to pay the tax." And I said, "Well, then don't take the money out." "But I want some money." "Well, then you'll pay the tax." "Well, I don't want to pay." And it was like watching a tennis match go back and forth. Yeah. And finally he says, "Well, how much am I getting a year in cash flow now?" I said, "Over 200. He said, "Well, there's my 200. I'm not paying the tax." He was so happy.
I'm not paying the tax. I love
it.
So the money that you do get, that would be taxed as just earned income?
It is earned income. Okay. However, you also get extra benefits from that. Oh. There's the new tax law that takes 20% of your taxable income away. It's called the QBI deduction. And then there's also new depreciation you get to take on the new properties. That when you eventually pass away, then that gets stepped up too, and you'll never pay that back either.
I want 4 of these.
Yes.
I mean, I think this whole solution is so amazing, and I'm really beginning to get into that idea of why people haven't heard of these before, because it's like when you talk about stretch IRAs, people have never heard about that. Why? Because it's complicated. Right. It takes thinking outside of the box. It takes a lot of extra education and teaming up with people who know about those things. So I think this is just absolutely wonderful. But let me ask you another question. I mean, in my world, in the investment world, you've always heard about REITs, real estate investment trusts. So why wouldn't I just do a REIT?
Yeah, well, the reason is they don't qualify for 1031 exchange. So if you sold your property and put the money into a REIT, you're going to pay the big income tax. So in the case of this person with the $4 million, he was looking at a $1 million income tax bill. Wow. That had he put it in a REIT, he would pay the $1 million. Only the DST allows for passive real estate investing and not pay the $1 million. And then again, when he passes away someday, it'll go to his heirs, and that $1 million of deferred income tax will go away permanently.
Wow. And you think about that, I mean, as you've worked all your life for all of these things, would you rather give that money to Uncle Sam, or would you rather give it to your heirs? And we all pay more than our fair share of taxes, but that's what I tell everybody: pay your fair share, no more.
Right. One of the things I've told my clients, well, that $1 million, sometimes they go, "Oh, my heirs are getting plenty of money, I don't care." I'm like, "Really? Oh, well, let's sum up the $1 million as to what that means paying down the interest on the national debt. That's about 3 seconds of the interest. Let's count off 1, 2, 3. There's your life. You're done.
Yeah.
Would you rather have that 3 seconds of interest on the national debt, or maybe you have a charity, or maybe you can do some good things with that money that is better? And so once I tell them that, they're going, "Okay, you're right. I don't want to pay that tax." Yeah.
So that's why I come to you. You're the expert. Right. So we don't do this if we want a lot of liquidity. We make sure there's other money for liquidity, and that money can be invested somewhere in a good diversified portfolio with us at Alphastar. You always have to have some in the bank. That's that emergency money. In case you have to have it, you can put your hands on it, put it in your pocket. But this is for that stream of income, which has become such an important thing. Everybody out there is getting nervous, are our benefits going to last? Are they going to change our benefits? People are already collecting. Are they going to lower benefits? Well, this is another way to ensure yourself of a stream of income that just is not going to go away.
Yeah, and the biggest thing again is you get to retire. You get to go on that cruise where you couldn't before as a landlord. Landlords don't get to ever stop, and they see other people enjoying their life, and they're out changing water heaters and scratching their head going, how did this happen that I have all this net worth, but I don't have a life?
Yeah. Would you do me a favor?
Sure.
Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Good. Good. We'll come back next month, and I want to continue this conversation because we have so much more to say. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Retirement strategies come in all shapes and sizes. One strategy does not fit all when it comes to reaching your retirement goals, and considering all your options may be, well, more than you want to think about. So whether you're looking to retire or already living in retirement, you need a strategy tailor-made for you.
Hi, I'm Annalee Leonard with Mainstay Financial Group, and I'm here to design a financial plan for you and for those that you love.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving. Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave.
Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Mainstay Financial Group offers advocacy and personal financial guidance in a caring environment. That's the heart of our practice. At Mainstay, we're dedicated to exemplary service and a caring relationship with our client, not with a number. Plan for the future now with Mainstay Financial Services.